William Alexander Ribble family, circa 1907. William Alexander Ribble was known as Pooh by his family and Uncle Billy by the community. He was born in 1851 and died in 1948 at the age of 97. In 1872, Pooh married Annie Davidson. In 1874, they had a son, Thomas Edwin Ribble, that went by Eddie. Sadly, in 1876, Annie and a baby died during childbirth. In 1897, Ed married Ida Chandler. In 1898, a son, William Cornish Ribble, was born. In 1900, a daughter, Mamie Lee Ribble, was born. She died in 1905 before this picture was taken. She died of diphtheria. In 1902, a son, Norman Carson, was born. In 1905, a daughter, Amy B., was born. Ida and Ed had 4 more children, Vinnie, Elsie, Ira, and Tom. The following is a video done in October 2008 with some of Thomas Edwin Ribble's grandchildren and Pooh's great-grandchildren. Pooh lived to be 97. Some of his great-grandchildren remember him, and others got to spend a great deal of time with him.
Now then, I understand that y'all are all the TE strain of Pooh, and the mother was Annie Davidson. And so y'all are all cousins, and so we need y'all to introduce yourselves if you can. And I guess tell your connection to Pooh. You know how it is. You went back, you know, if you go, your mother is the daughter of TE or whatever, or how that goes, which one it is. So it's a good record.
Are we going by age?
We're going to start. We're going to start at that end of the couch, and we're going to go through this way. And I know Ed, you've already been interviewed for a couple hours, haven't you?
So good he won't talk this time.
So he probably won't have anything else to say.
He's gonna do all the
He's
talking.
the oldest though.
He's gonna do all the talking.
Okay.
He's the oldest.
I wish our oldest could do that good.
Kate, pay attention over here.
My name is Sue Ribble.
Okay.
I am the daughter of Thomas Edward Ribble. He was the youngest of 8 children that Ed and Ida Chandler Ribble had. And they had 7 living children. One died, Mamie died when she was about 5. And my dad was the baby.
And so he was only married once, unlike Pooh. He only had
Yes,
one
only
wife, one
once.
family.
No, I made up for it. I did the rest.
Okay.
But I went back to being myself. I'm a So, and I live in Albuquerque. I have 4 children and 5 grandchildren and 5 step-grandchildren, and so live a busy life. I had a bowling center for 35 years and work part-time and have a great time at home. And Vicki and I travel together.
Vicky.
You're up.
Okay, then we'll go to the floor.
The floor.
After you.
Oh, after me. Okay, I'm Vicki Rogers Corvelli, and I'm from El Paso, Texas, and my mother was Benny Ribble from T.E. Thomas Edward Ribble. And I've lived in El Paso, Texas for 41 years. And I have one son. My husband died 9 years ago. And I'm a retired school teacher of 40 years.
And you have a brother.
Oh, and I have a brother,
He didn't
James Rogers, that didn't come. And he is a good man, and he lives in Alamo Garden, New Mexico, and runs the Alamo Transit, Mexico.
Well, we'll have to take your word for it on him. Since we don't know him.
Well done.
And so, like Sue said, we travel together.
So how are y'all's parents kin?
Brothers.
Brother and sister.
So everybody here is a different, from a different child.
Uh-huh.
But
Well,
there are
they-
8 siblings,
they
right?
have the same mother here.
Are the same
The
mother.
same
Okay.
mother. But I,
But all, oh, and you belong to them.
That's
And then Norman down on the end here, Norman and I are double cousins. And he has a sister, Joanne, as well. Our mothers married brothers.
Really?
So,
So both your fathers were Ribbles?
yes.
And there were 13 of us cousins, and there's 11 of us
Yeah.
still living.
Wow.
Cool.
And
we
we always
occasionally get along together.
Well, and we try to get together about every 2 or 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Did y'all all grow up together,
Yes.
playing together and all
mostly.
that?
And family was always first, even though we didn't get to go coon hunting either.
Maybe that was all made up.
Yeah, we didn't get to go.
We only know one or two that
They
did.
didn't go to New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay, Vicky. Floor?
This is
Janie.
Janie.
Yeah, Janie. I'm Janie Klein, Brown Klein. I'm the youngest daughter of, the oldest daughter of Edward Ribble. She was after Mamie died.
And Edward was the son of T.E.
He was the son of T.E. So, and I'm, needless to say, the baby of the family. I wasn't around when any of this. The last gathering they had for Pooh, I was 2.
Right.
Wow.
So,
So you and I are the same.
see?
That's right.
We didn't know him. You know, I wish I had. I've heard all the stories and everything. I live in northwest of Oklahoma City. I have 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. And put up with the rest of them.
And in our family pictures, Janie was always the baby and sat on the floor. And
Ah.
that's why she's on the floor
The only
every night.
difference is now they have to help me get up.
Then we couldn't hold her down.
That was the only way to keep me down. Now they have to help me get up.
That's good.
There is one other cousin that isn't here that always sat on the floor with me, and that was Mike.
Yeah.
And he didn't make it
He
this
didn't
time.
make it today.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Ed?
I'm Janie's older brother.
Okay.
And I met her, I came back from the Pacific in World War II and got leave when I got to San Francisco, when I came home. Knocked on the door just to make sure that I didn't disturb anything, you know. And so I saw Mom inside and I never thought anything about it, you know. And I thought, well, why hasn't she come to the door? And she runs off into a side room and comes back out and she knows I can see through the window, but she makes sure, she walks to the door sideways.
Oh.
And then she opens the door, said, here's your little sister.
Wow. Isn't that
And that's the first you
something?
knew
I
about
had no idea at all.
Oh
you
my
know.
gosh.
Wow.
But that was my greeting home whenever I.
And where did y'all live then?
From Japan, out of the Navy.
Where did you live
We were
then?
in
I
Texas.
lived in Tatum, New Mexico.
Okay.
And she had born in Brownfield, Texas, which was just about 30 miles from there. And I went into the Navy in New Mexico because my folks were living in Maljamar. Dad was working for an oil company out there. And I was inducted in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and was discharged in Florida. And came back, and Flo and I had been engaged for a couple of years, and so then we were married, and then went to Hardin Simmons University. Prof and Jenny Mae moved us into their front room, and they had a garage apartment that had students in it. They had the back room that had students in it, and then we were in the
Front room.
curtained off area in the living room, and even though we were relatives, he did that for everybody anyway. That was just.
Now, who was this? I know.
He lived
Carnish,
Oh.
yeah.
Carnish.
He was the oldest, oldest of Tom and, yeah, Ida Ribble. And my mother was the oldest girl, and I was the oldest grandchild.
Okay.
And he's the one that started,
All this
no, it
mess.
was Uncle Carnes. Uncle Monty would call Pooh.
Yeah.
Started Pooh.
Oh.
Yeah, he's the one that called
Pooh.
me.
Oh.
Started Pooh.
And that's where it
He
came
called
from.
him Pooh.
So
And
it's
I had
P.E.
chi-
and then your mother is his oldest daughter.
Yeah, yeah. And my mother was born in Hagerman, New
I was the
Mexico.
youngest.
And one of the things that was interesting, and you're talking a while ago, is Mom always, even when she died, about 2 weeks being 97, or even when she died, lived up with us, the Brazos was her home. She always related to that. And she related that when they left here and moved to New Mexico, my grandfather had a livery stable, and also he had a Fresno deal. Some of you don't know what a Fresno is, but anyway, he dug ponds, what we call tanks, for cattle out in New Mexico. And anthrax wiped them out, but he was able to save 3 teams. And they moved back from Hagerman, New Mexico in November, 8 weeks. 3 wagon trains, 3 wagons. One of them had a stove that Carnes and Carson, his dad, had bolted to the floor, and the girls and boys would take turns walking across the prairie all the way here, and they would pick up buffalo chips and cow chips and stuff to keep the fire going, and then they had 2-hour sessions. They would walk for 2 hours, then they'd get to sit in and warm up for 2 hours. Then they would take 2 hours, 8 weeks coming across from New Mexico to come back here so they could be here on the Brazos.
And what year was that?
Long time before I was born. No, Mom was, I think she told me she was 10. And so that would be,
1910,
yeah, about 1915. About 19, she was born in 1905. So it'd be between 1910 and 1915 that they moved back from to the area here. And then she and my dad's folks had lived down in Buda, Texas.
That's where our son.
And they had moved north
Boston.
here. And in the process, my Mom and he went to school together somewhere around Olney. I don't think it was in Olney itself. And then they got married, and like I say, I was the oldest grandchild.
So she lived
So
until
your- but your
2002,
parents are the
huh?
same. Your
Was she
parents are
she
the
lived
same?
until 2002?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
All of them were in their 90s, all the aunts were in their 90s.
Yeah, our aunts were
I
too.
just forgot to tell, I graduated from Hardison
Wow.
Yeah.
also.
Well, I was the second in the class as far as honors was concerned. I sat next to the girl who was valedictorian. I followed her across the stage.
You were second.
They said, you know, some graduate Mammy cum laude, and mine was thank God, oh Lordy, he's born.
Okay.
All right.
Now,
Next.
Well, your turn.
Me?
Yeah, you.
Well, I'm in the middle of this bunch here.
Okay.
Which the other 2 brothers we lost about 1 2 years ago and one
Oh,
a year, a little over, about 2 3 years ago.
so there's 5.
And whatever he has said, and 95% of it, my mother would tell us different stories of all of it. I went to school in Tatum, New Mexico, went to school in El Paso, Texas. Then I married the first husband. I had 3 brats, Bobby, Connie, and Jeanetta. And I call them brats, they were. I married a military man, and I went to England, and I had been Saudi Arabia for 18 months in each place. Then we came back, and then I married another one, and then I married this one after the other one last, and we're very happy with this one I got married.
Keeping
We
him.
meaning you and your
Voice
parents.
your own opinion. Voice your own opinion.
Well, you know, the kid says, okay, mother, and you know,
There's 2 of them here that don't think so.
Excuse me.
and we've got, we met the grandkids, 2 of them here, no, 3 of them that was here tonight.
Oh,
And we've got-
grandkids.
Yeah, grandkids.
Oh yeah, I met
That's
Annie.
Jeanette's. It's Jeanette.
That was Bobby and his family.
Yeah.
Bobby
Oh.
and Jimmy. Then we've got, Jeanetta was here, and her kids are in North Carolina, which there was 4 grandkids, great-grandkids on one side and 3 grandkids on the other. So we got quite a big family. We do have a lot of fun.
How old were the brothers that died? How old were y'all's brothers that died? Where did they live?
Donnie was 2 years younger, so he was about 70, and Charles was about 70, wasn't he, too? Both of them was about 70 years. 73.
I mean, how did they fit in with y'all? Where?
Charles was between Ed and Donnie was between me and Charles. He was the baby besides that one. Yeah, that's, our family shrunk, but we sure do have a lot of fun.
Good.
We try to get together at least once a year. Some way, we do.
Usually in this area, everybody's
Be
kind
around.
There's no reason not to.
Yeah. So Norman the ice cream man. It was wonderful, by the way.
Yeah, this family's really, I look very happy to have them.
I'm Norman Ribble, and my dad was NC. He was the 3rd child of Thomas and Ida Ribble. My dad was a Hardin Simmons graduate. My mother graduated from Canyon at West Texas State.
Oh, yay.
And she happened to her senior year need to pick up a math course, and she went to summer school at Hardin Simmons, and that's where she met my father, and they were married, and they were both in the teaching profession. My dad and well, in fact, one of the pictures there was he was a track coach at Dickens.
Oh, that's where
When he
Jesse's
was after his first teaching job, and then he was principal of high school at Hobbs. And that's where my sister and I were born. I have one sister. She's a year older than I am, and she lives with her daughter now in Midland. Dottie and I, my wife, we were married in 1956. She's my first wife, and still the same one. And we raised 4 children. We have 3 grandchildren. We lost 1 daughter. We had 2 girls go to Hardin Simmons, and 1 girl was coming home at Thanksgiving in 1978 from Hardin Simmons and was in a car accident. In fact, she passed away in Lubbock in the hospital then. And we had called Aunt Della, and we were going to go out and see Aunt Della. And about noon, all of our children were there, and about 11, Raleigh passed on, and so we didn't get to see her. And it wasn't long after that Aunt Della passed away. But when Dottie and I were married, she was a hostess for TW Airlines, and she quit flying, and I was in the Air Force. I was an instructor pilot. We finished our tour with the Air Force and NC, and then his brother Ira. We were in the equipment business, heavy road machinery business, and so I got out of the Air Force and went to work with them. And we were in that business. Was the oldest equipment distributing business in New Mexico. We sold it or merged it with a public company in 1980. And at that time, my son and I went in the contracting business. So we were in the aggregate asphalt business until just a few years ago. And now I'm retired, and I love retirement. No payroll, no employees, and that suits us pretty well. We've recently moved from Albuquerque. We live in Elephant Butte, about 150 miles south of Albuquerque. We love to travel. We've gone through a couple motor homes, and now we have a 5th wheel, and we've been from Newfoundland to Alaska, and we're going back to Alaska next summer, but we try to travel 5 to 6 months a year. So.
Cool.
My dad was also a graduate of Hardin Simmons. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. Hardin Simmons is a long lineage in this family. And I want to tell you a story about that.
Rod was a professor.
I want to tell you a story about this. And I I happen to be a Methodist, but I'm gonna brag on my Baptist relatives now. Because it was after World War I. Prof was in the service in World War I. He graduated from Hardin Simmons College in 27. And a Baptist minister took an interest in Prof and convinced my grandfather that Prof should go to college. And you know, big families then, and if you look at all of these families were large families, that was really a labor source. I mean, it took lots of family to keep the thing going together. But anyway, this Baptist minister convinced my grandfather that Prof should go to college. So he went to college. And he made sure, as they came along, Mike, with the exception of your mother, because she was married, but the rest of all of his brothers and sisters had some school. Your mother got married too, okay.
My mother married.
Yeah.
Let me say most of them then got some college, and that made the difference in our family as things came along. And so with Prof at Hardin Simmons, that became our family college.
Daddy went to Texas A&M.
Yeah.
What?
Daddy went to Texas A&M.
Texas.
Okay.
We really fell for her.